Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ video. This is a special weekend edition here on NoDQ.com here in Portland, Oregon. Doing this video today. It is very hot in Portland, almost 100 degrees, and that is hot for Portland. I'm used to that in Southern California, not Portland. But regardless of the heat, the video must go on, the show must go on, whatever. Got your questions today from twitter.com/AaronRift using the hashtag Road to NoDQ 1000. This is episode number 973. Just 2 more until 975. Please keep spreading the word. Share this video, Facebook or Twitter. Send in your questions for episode number 975. Let's get started today with the first one, which comes from Deplorable Hamp with the American flag. Do you think the Roman Reigns project will eventually fail? Cena and Hogan were at least entertaining. Roman Reigns is not. Roman Reigns is not entertaining in your opinion. There are plenty of members of the Roman Empire, lots of women, lots of children. WWE's making money. That's all they care about. When Reigns comes out there, he gets the biggest reaction of anybody. The people are making noise. Everyone's standing up. People are traveling hundreds of miles. There was one guy on Twitter that said he drove 5 hours to go to a WWE live event just to boo Roman Reigns. Whatever WWE's doing, at least to some degree, it's working for them. I think a lot of us feel the same way, that Roman Reigns has been shoved down our throats and the Roman character is very stale and predictable. But for WWE and their business model, what they're doing, Roman Reigns is working, and I don't see them changing anything. I do not see it failing, because right now it is to some degree a success for WWE. They're making money. Roman Reigns' face is on buses in India. He is the guy, whether any of us like it or not. He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's the guy, and if you don't like it, then WWE's attitude is stop watching. This one comes from Turbonius. Is Randy Orton the most overrated WWE superstar of this generation? Easy for me to say, WWE. At least I'm not like Vince and say the WWE champion and he forgets that second W. I would say Randy Orton is far from being the most overrated guy in WWE history. I like Randy Orton. I think he gets a bad rep. The guy is extremely talented and he's over with the fans. Randy Orton, the RKO, he has been consistent in WWE for many years. Maybe not consistently at the top level in terms of skills, but I think he's been consistently very good for the majority of his career, and I think the guy's a real pro. He knows what he's doing in that ring, and I think overall he is an entertaining performer. He's not the best mic guy, he's not the best wrestler, but I think Orton just has a good feel for wrestling, and when he gets in there, he knows what to do, and he gets the reactions from people. So I would say Randy Orton is definitely a success. Maybe a little overrated, maybe he's not among the best of all time, but I think his longevity really speaks for itself, and I think that that says a lot about him, that he's been able to stay on top for so many years, or at least stay towards the top. Randy Orton has, I think, exceeded expectations going in. You know, when Randy Orton first started in WWE, there were a lot of expectations. People thought because he's a third-generation star, he would be as big as The Rock. Now, those are some very big shoes to fill, but Randy Orton has really come into his own and has been one of the biggest WWE stars of the past decade. So I guess everybody has their own opinion of Randy Orton, but I like the guy, and I would definitely consider him to be maybe in the top 25 WWE's greatest superstars of all time list. This one comes from Cheyenne. It looks like Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal 3 is coming. Do you see Randy Orton getting pinned thrice in a row? Your thoughts about the match? I guess it makes sense to do one more match, since the apparent plan is for Jinder Mahal to face John Cena, and if that's the case, then yeah, I do see Randy Orton losing one more match. I brought this up on the last video. Maybe Rusev could come back and be the guy who costs Randy Orton the match this time instead of the Singh brothers. You would think that they would have to do something different for this next match, because the obvious outcome is, oh, the Singh brothers interfere and Orton loses again. There's got to be more to it than that. I don't see Orton winning back the title. I think that Jinder will probably lose to Cena. So the question is, what do you do? How do you book this match so Orton loses but doesn't look weak? And, you know, maybe Rusev interferes. I mean, maybe they should have just moved on. I figured Orton would lose the title, maybe lose a rematch, and then they'd go their separate ways. But it looks like they're doing one more match to fill time, to kill time, whatever. We have Battleground coming up before SummerSlam, yet another WWE pay-per-view. It's amazing. This weekend is like the first weekend where, well, I mean, there have been weekends occasionally, but this is one of the first weekends, one of those rare exceptions where there's no pay-per-view. Next weekend, Slammiversary, and then we have WWE Balls, hashtag WWE Balls. But we got Battleground coming up, and there's still some time between now and SummerSlam, and Jinder needs something to do until he faces John Cena, which I think is inevitable. So they got to do the match, and my guess is somebody's going to cost Orton the match besides the Singh brothers, whether it's Rusev or somebody else. That's what I'm expecting at this point. This one comes from Jeremy James 24. Hey Aaron, with SummerSlam just around the corner, how would you book the Hardy Boys going into SummerSlam? Great question. I would like to see the Hardys move in the broken direction, but right now that is still up in the air. Now, the Hardys did this promo for a WWE Live event at Madison Square Garden. They used some of the phrases like, MSG, we knew you'd come, and Jeff Hardy said something about obsolete or something like that. They did do a little bit of teasing with the broken gimmick. Now, Jeff Jarrett recently did an interview and said it's clear Impact Wrestling owns the intellectual property, which caused Rebby Hardy to really go off on Jeff Jarrett, getting as extreme as posting proof that he had a DUI arrest. So that is getting really ugly. So I don't know what's going to happen, but if WWE is able to do the broken gimmick, which I hope they are at some point, and Matt has said that he's hoping it will be the case sooner than later, then I'd like to see something at SummerSlam happen to really set off either Matt or maybe set off both of them so they move into that direction. Maybe not go directly in the route of the broken gimmick, maybe do something a little bit different so it doesn't fall into that category of being Impact Wrestling's intellectual property. Maybe they could be creative and come up with a little bit of a different gimmick, which is like a hybrid of what the broken gimmick used to be, and maybe do something completely different, take it in a whole new direction, which I would like to see anyways. You know, I think just recreating the past, you know, that's only going to go so far. I think they need to continue being innovative. The Hardy Boys are very creative. Maybe just come up with some new concept that's totally unique and just very out there, and take some chances like they did in TNA and see what happens. This one comes from J-Dubs. What's the best Money in the Bank match ever? I think I would have to go with the first one. Usually when I get these questions, what was the first match of this type, whether it's Money in the Bank or Elimination Chamber or Hell in a Cell, I like to go with the original. I think the original sets the standard, especially for a match that becomes a classic institution in WWE. I think that the first Money in the Bank was very entertaining. Shelton Benjamin running up the ladder. I was there for that WrestleMania 21, so maybe there is a little bit of a bias, but I really enjoyed that Money in the Bank, and to me that is still the best one. I like RVD's cash-in, and there have been a few good ones over the years. I think this year's Money in the Bank was perhaps the best one since maybe 2010. Definitely one of the better Money in the Bank matches. Hopefully the women's match on Tuesday will make up for the pay-per-view, and they'll have a great classic Money in the Bank match. Time will tell. I'm hoping they'll be able to have the match we were all hoping they would have had at the pay-per-view. This one comes from Jamie Clark. How favorably do you think Vince McMahon looks on ring talent based on his focus on entertainment rather than wrestling? I don't think it's that big of a deal for Vince. I think Vince would like a guy who's well-rounded, who can do everything, you know, who can get in the ring and work, a guy who can also do the personal appearances, do the TV shows, be on the posters. I mean, Vince is looking for the total package. Maybe not Lex Luger, but the total package in the sense of a guy who has all the attributes. But yeah, I think that Vince does tend to weigh a little bit heavier on promos and look, and I think in-ring skills is third place maybe. I think look is the most important thing to Vince. I think if you're tall, you're going to get your foot in the door. You're going to get more opportunities than somebody who's short. And I think if you can talk, you're going to get more opportunities than if you're somebody who can work. You know, WWE is a cosmetic business. WWE wants to sell action figures and video games, and the more muscular you are, the taller you are. Vince sees that as being more marketable, and that's just the way it is. That's just the nature of the business, trying to make money off of action figures and video games and posters and all that stuff. This one comes from They See Me Rollins. Which feud did you never buy or you never bought? For me, Vince versus Roman Reigns for obvious reasons. Well, yeah, for a lot of us hardcore fans, that was a hard feud to believe that Vince hates Roman Reigns when we all know the truth that Vince loves the guy. But then again, Vince loves Steve Austin because Steve Austin was making Vince more money than anybody else. Vince even said on TV that Steve Austin makes me richer. That's why I don't fire him. So, I mean, it was hard to believe. It was hard to suspend disbelief that Vince hates Roman Reigns, but it did work to some degree, at least for a short period of time. It did get fans briefly to cheer Roman Reigns. You know, when Roman Reigns won the title from Sheamus, that angle was well done. It was done well enough where the fans in Philadelphia got behind Roman Reigns. So, WWE deserves credit where credit is due. For that night, you know, the TLC pay-per-view and then the Raw the next night, they made it work. But then it was right back to the same old Roman Reigns, and Vince could only make the magic happen that one time, and it's not like it stayed consistent where Roman Reigns was all of a sudden beloved by everybody. It just didn't hold the momentum. It didn't work long term. This one comes from Wayne Duggan. Any relation to Hacksaw Jim Duggan? Looks like he's holding a fish, but I'm not sure. Do you see Vince McMahon going into the WWE Hall of Fame anytime soon, and who would induct him? Vince, I do not think will go into the Hall of Fame while he is alive. I think that he feels that he should not be going into the Hall of Fame. You know, Vince, in a way, is not selfish like that. He feels that it would be wrong for him to go into the Hall of Fame, his own Hall of Fame. So even though I'm sure Vince has the ego and all that, I think he would rather go into the Hall of Fame after he's dead. I think he doesn't want to go in while he's alive. So my gut feeling is we will not see Vince in the Hall of Fame until after he has passed away. Now, who will induct Vince into the Hall of Fame? You would think it would be Shane and Stephanie, his kids, Linda, the whole McMahon family. I think you would have all of them. Triple H too. Have the whole McMahon family induct Vince into the Hall of Fame. To me, that's the obvious way to go. This one comes from Mr. Yuck, wearing a championship belt. Is that a Talk Wrestling and NoDQ belt? If it is, I applaud you for that. Have Harper and Rowan been on TV since the last pay-per-view? Where are they for Money in the Bank? Would it help to repackage either of them? Harper was on SmackDown this week in a losing effort to Jinder Mahal. Rowan is just lost in the shuffle. And I think that was inevitable once you had Bray Wyatt move to Monday Night Raw. I think Rowan had a little bit of momentum when he was doing those talking smack bits with Renee Young. I thought those were very entertaining, but then WWE just pretty much dropped it. You know, when he pulled the mask out of the bag and was being all creepy. I was enjoying those segments, but WWE did not follow up on it, and doesn't look good for Rowan. Harper, I feel like the guy had some momentum. earlier this year. He should have been in the WrestleMania match. WWE should have called an audible and changed their plans and added Harper to that match and made it a triple threat. Get rid of the stupid effects with the bugs on the ring and just done a really solid triple threat match, 20 minutes. Just let it be a drag down, knockout brawl. Have them fight in the crowd. Just have it be a wild fight. And that would have been a hell of a WWE title match at WrestleMania instead of what we ended up getting. And it just killed Harper's momentum dead. Harper not being there. I think he was in, what, the Andre Battle Royal and got eliminated right away. So yeah, I feel that Harper really had some momentum, and now he's like stuck in limbo. He's stuck in mid-card hell, as they say, in WWE, if even that, because at least the mid-carders are getting TV time. I mean, it's bad. You know, he did get TV time this week, but when Breezango, the Fashion Police, are getting more TV time than you, not necessarily a good thing. This one comes from Braden. What's up with SmackDown's use of Dillinger and Harper? I did just address Harper, but I will talk about Dillinger. You know, I know people like the guy. He's got a fan base, but I never saw a whole lot in him. I think from what I saw in NXT and what I've seen on SmackDown Live so far, I think he's a 5 or a 6. I hate to say it, you know, I think the guy's just okay. I think he's a good wrestler, but like I've said before about some other people, you know, being a good wrestler in a sea of great wrestlers will only get you so far. Promos, haven't really seen much from him with promos. Nothing's really stood out. The only thing he has going for him is the 10. Without the 10 chant, I wonder if he would have even been called up in the first place. Quite frankly, I think the 10 chants, that is what got him called up to the main roster. But, I mean, SmackDown Live's only a 2-hour show and there's only so many spots. And it looks like he's already gotten lost in the shuffle. And, you know, I think that they've probably already given up on him and they're focusing on other people. So that seems to be the deal with Harper and Ty Dillinger at this point. You know, they're both lost in the shuffle and it's going to be hard for them to regain some momentum that they've lost unless WWE decides to expand. Well, see, with Jinder Mahal, WWE could expand into India and that was their excuse for pushing him. Not sure where they could expand with Dillinger and Harper. This one comes from Joseph Allen. What if Shawn Michaels jumped to WCW with Hall and Nash? Could he have been the leader of the NWO instead of Hogan? He was a great heel. I believe the timing wouldn't have worked for Michaels to have been in the NWO. I mean, he was WWE champion, obviously, when the NWO got started, but there was speculation in '97 that Shawn was going to jump. I think when Shawn and Brett had their backstage fight, this was like May, June '97, around King of the Ring, there was talk that Shawn was going to walk out on Nitro and join Hall and Nash. There's speculation Shawn was going to quit. I think that Shawn Michaels would have somehow been ruined by WCW, just like everyone else. I think that he would have gone there, and the politics would have been very nasty, and Michaels and Hogan would have butted heads, and it would have been a mess. Michaels never came off like the type of guy that would have put up with much BS in politics if he didn't have to. You know, in 2005 he did. He was a trooper for that match with Hogan. But I think in WCW, I mean, Shawn was just basically calling his own shots in '96 and '97 in WWE. In WCW, it would have been even worse. And I think it would have just been a mess if Shawn had went to WCW. I don't think it would have worked out, you know. Similar to Brett, I think it would have flopped if Shawn went to WCW. I think they would have somehow ruined him. This one comes from Rigger. Well, Aaron, how would the power trip have played out if Triple H did not get injured? Also, what about Triple H's role in the invasion? Regarding the power trip, I believe the plan was for Triple H to eventually turn babyface. I think they were going to have a split at some point with Triple H going face and facing Austin, which is really weird when Triple H had tried to have Austin run over. So it would have been really weird. How would they have been able to pull that off? But yeah, I believe the plan was for Triple H to go babyface and fight Austin maybe at SummerSlam before Triple H got hurt and then the invasion really got going. Regarding Triple H's role in the invasion, I get this question every couple of months, and my answer is always the same. It would have been a lot worse for guys like DDP and Booker T. Instead of taking rock bottoms, they both would have taken pedigrees, and they probably would have been buried faster. That's my answer every time. So anytime you see somebody ask me on Twitter, that's the answer. They would have been buried faster. That'll wrap it up for NoDQ video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I had a lot of fun doing this today, despite the intense heat outside in Portland, Oregon. But again, check out NoDQ.com for the very latest news and rumors. We do have Slammiversary. Yes, a TNA pay-per-view, which is a rarity these days. Alberto El Patron versus Bobby Lashley next weekend, next Sunday night. El Patron is saying this match is going to be 1,000 times better than Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. We will see about that. So stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Slammiversary and the latest with Impact Wrestling, the broken gimmick, all that good stuff. NoDQ.com, the latest regarding hashtag WWE Balls. I refuse to use hashtag WWE GBOF. Stupid hashtag. We're using WWE Balls, whether WWE likes it or not. And I will retweet people that use the hashtag WWE Balls. So if you got something to say, if you want to post a picture, something funny, tell a joke, use the hashtag WWE Balls. Maybe I'll retweet you on the NoDQ account on Twitter. Follow the NoDQ account on Twitter and on Facebook. Follow me on all the social media pages at Aaron Rift, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on all of them. And that's it. I have gotten all the plugs out. See you guys next time for another edition of NoDQ video.